So I noticed that Battlefield 5 was available in the PSN free Game of the Month deal, whatever they call it, one of the free games. So I thought I'd give it a go. So these are just some clips of some initial games I had the other night, and I'm just going to provide a bit of a reaction really and some thoughts on the game, coming from a bit of a Battlefield background dating all the way back to the original game in 2002, Battlefield 1942. So yeah, I've got a bit of a bit of past, I guess, with this series, but I haven't been as into it in recent years, and I can go into all that as I progress through this. You're not going to see a great deal of skill, by the way, because I was very rusty, and I was just getting to grips with the controls, particularly on console, because I used to play this on PC. I fell off the bridge there. Great. So I think the first thing I want to say is that on the PS4, and this game is about 3 years old now, I think, which is amazing. I thought it only came out about a year ago, but time flies. So yeah, the frame rate's really good, and that was the first thing I noticed. Battlefield games have always got really good production values. So it's got the old war tapes mode in the audio settings, which is always fun, and all these old staples that veterans will be used to, they've not got rid of, which I always appreciate, because it's a nice little touches like that. They give the game some originality, not just the old FPS generic template. Graphics, at first I was a bit underwhelmed, but one of the things I will say is, I mean, I've been quite spoiled really, because I've just been playing a hell of a lot of Hell Let Loose recently on PC on quite high settings graphically. So as a result, playing a game like this on what is now almost a 10-year-old piece of hardware, the PS4, the original PS4, not the Pro, it's obviously, for me, I'm going to see the limitations essentially. So I expect obviously on PC this game's going to be far better graphically. But anyway, graphics aside, sounds. I'm always very particular about my sounds in games. If the guns don't sound right, personally, I lose interest very quickly. I'm a bit of an audiophile really when it comes to gaming, and particularly with war games and FPS games. I want my M1 Garand ping, for example. You know what I'm talking about if you're a World War II gamer. And I want it to sound right. I want it to sound authentic. So my first reaction actually, and I was actually quite disappointed to be honest. I think the sound effects in BS5, BF5 even, or BS5, yeah. They're not that good. I mean, I might be missing something, and maybe I just need to play it more. But I'm playing it on a decent surround sound environment, 5.1 speaker setup, quite loud. The atmosphere, the immersion is good, the explosions and stuff, but the gun sound effects to me just don't seem quite right. For example, the M1 Garand just didn't quite do it for me. It sounds a little bit too bassy. And usually they get gun sounds, they nail them, the dice, but I don't think they quite did it this time. But certain guns probably sound better than others. So this is me with the Car 98. I'm really just getting used to the game here. I'm not doing much at all. I'm just getting killed, really. Certainly not getting sniping kills. I'm very rusty. I mean, I used to be really good sniping in Battlefield games back in the day on PC. Very good. I mean, just a bit of history. I mean, yeah, Battlefield 1942 for me, that was an incredible game. I played that to death, like everyone did if you were around in, well, 20 years ago. Scary. But yeah, I didn't. Battlefield 2 was again brilliant, loved it, smashed that game in like 2005 or so. I think I preferred 1942, but that's because I've always had an obsession with World War II. But yeah, Battlefield 2, brilliant. For me, that's when things started to fall apart a little bit. I can't actually remember all the other games that came out because I didn't really play them much. Battlefield Vietnam. There was that crazy one in space. I remember that being quite fun actually. Big bases, big spaceships that you captured, or yeah, I can't remember the details now. But yeah, then anyway, I kind of lost interest in Battlefield for a few years. Trying to take out a Sherman here with an incendiary grenade, I think. Or no, a laser designator. I don't know what I'm doing, to be honest. I'm still running around like a headless chicken, to be frank, at this point. Anyway, what was I saying? So yeah, I lost interest in Battlefield until about 2012, and then that's actually when I started to get more and more into YouTube. And I think around 2012 I was actually probably at the peak of my YouTube days. I was gaining lots and lots and lots of subs, banging out Men of War vids and getting, you know, 300,000 views in some of them, almost 1 million actually for one of them. So I was getting big, and I did a Battlefield, God, I can't even remember the names of the games here. It wasn't Battlefield. Yeah, it was Battlefield 3. Yes. So in 2012, that was when DICE announced the big Battlefield comeback, and it was a huge bit of news on PC for the PC gaming community, because it was a PC first game, and everyone thought the days of that were over, even 10 years ago. And yeah, I did a reaction video, and it went viral. And I always remember regretting it because people started to use the video of me reacting and doing meme videos, and I politely asked them to take them off, and they did, which was good. And that's the end of that little chapter. But the point I was making was I was very excited about Battlefield 3 coming out, and that was a big event, and it was actually really good. I think Battlefield 3 was probably the last game that I invested really heavily into on PC, in terms of it being a competitive, serious game for me to really try and be good at and play in a squad and all that business. I thought it was excellent, Battlefield 3. Anyway, then a couple of years after that, DICE totally fucked up and made Battlefield 4, which is, as I'm sure most people know, was a total clusterfuck of a release when it came out on PC. Huge amounts of bugs and issues. So I just lost interest. I played it for about 5 days, a couple of hours here and there, and just thought, fuck this game. I remember all my single player saves got wiped. There were horrible sound glitches, just crazy bugs for a AAA game. And I tried to get refunds and I couldn't get it for some reason, and yeah, it just left a sour taste in my mouth. Yeah, what am I doing here? I'm in a tank. I'm just running around getting a feel still. So anyway, that's about it. I played Battlefield 1 for a bit, the World War 1 game. I didn't think that was too bad actually. I didn't really play it loads, but I quite liked the immersion. I liked the atmosphere of it, and I thought it was a little different, but I didn't play it a great deal. So here we are, Battlefield 5 and World War 2 again. So we've gone right back to World War 2 setting, the original setting. My first reaction to this was it felt like Battlefield Light. I feel like it's almost like a kind of dumbed down version of Battlefield 3 to me. But I know I don't know. There's certain things that you can't do that I was trying to do, like running around here as a recon class, for example. I'm trying to spot enemies, and you can't seem to do that anymore. But I think they've just changed the way that you spot. It could be for the better, for as far as I'm aware. So I'm not going to overly criticise the game for changing, because perhaps it's just evolved. But I kind of just instinctively felt the urge to keep spotting enemies, but I couldn't. Yeah, my accuracy is way off here. A couple of years ago, if I was playing this on PC, that would have been a headshot, pretty much guarantee it. But yeah, very rusty at the old sniping. I noticed you can zero in, which is nice. You can zero in up to 300 meters, which, given the optics, is probably quite accurate, given the era. And yeah, it's all bolt action rifles. I mean, it's World War II at the end of the day, so you're going to have the Kar 98. You get the Lee Enfield Mark IV as well, and I suppose you get loads of unlocks, but they're probably the only two you really need. Seems like there's some customization attachments and perks and all that, all the usual. But Battlefield games for me, I never really cared about much of that stuff. COD is really where all that comes in my opinion, more. I think in Battlefield it's more about just diving in and having fun, really. But other people play Battlefield differently to me. They get a bit more competitive. Yeah, so I ran into the enemy respawn area there. I think that guy killed me about 5 times, but I really wasn't playing. These were really the first few games I had, so I was completely clueless. Don't know the maps, don't know anything. But getting a feel for it, and I do get better as these videos progress. I actually start to get quite good. Well, I start to get kills. Whether or not I'm good, that's yeah, that's definitely subjective. So just a few more observations about this game. I mean, yeah, so I'm coming from Hell Let Loose, so I'm being spoiled really for the past year. So I'm not really feeling the sound effects. Some of it's good though. Nice fluid animation, good iron sights, and the way that yeah, it just feels solid. It feels polished. I mean, the Battlefield games are always very polished. Well, apart from certain ones. So just taking a look at the loadouts here. So we've got some interesting gun combinations. They've gone for a slightly different approach in this game, and I think it got a lot of criticism when it came out. And I mean, Battlefield, this game was a failure. I think that is well known, and it's probably why it's free on PSN now, because it was a flop. The community didn't react well to this game for various reasons, and I suspect one of them is because of this unrealistic and rather odds decision they made around your class creation. So, for example, each faction can select any other faction's weapon as part of their loadout. So you can be a German Wehrmacht infantryman with an M1 Garand. I don't know, that feels a bit like CODs to me. That's not what I want. I want Battlefield to be a little bit realistic, but obviously Battlefield's not a realism game, it's not a mil sim, but I want it to have some element of realism to it. So I don't want to see Germans running around with you know, bars and M2 carbines and all that stuff. I want to see some authenticity in the actual equipment. So that kind of rubbed me up the wrong way, to be honest. Like, for example, here I'm a German engineer, and I'm running around with a Browning M19 M19, whatever it's called, light machine gun. So I don't like that. I just want I think you should be limited to the weapons that the country would have. So MG34, blah blah. But anyway, that's a geeky thing, and I'm used to playing mil sims and realistic World War II games like Hell Let Loose. So or Postscriptum, even more hardcore, which I haven't played in ages actually, but I do love that game. So yeah, I can accept that. And the other thing I noticed is quite glaring when you first start playing it is, yeah, you've got the female characters running around. So you hear the feminine female voices, and on all factions, you know, and it's, I think the recon class by default you're a female and you can change it. I'm not, you know, I don't have a problem with that per se, but again, for me, it's just a realism thing. I just feel like it just takes away from the authenticity of a World War II game. But then again, if it was the Eastern Front, then it would probably be quite realistic, because there were a lot of women fighting in the Red Army, particularly at Stalingrad. So I'm not against it, but I just feel like, and again, DICE got a lot of criticism when this game came out, because really it was a woke decision. It was all about the politics. It was a virtue signalling move by DICE, the dev team in Sweden. They went full woke when they made this game. Everyone knows it. That was part of the marketing flaw, and all the BS around a disabled woman fighting in a cutscene, all this sort of thing, and it ruined the game. It took away the authenticity. You know, let's face it, females. There are going to be a lot of females playing games like this, but the vast majority of people playing this are going to be guys who like World War II stuff, who like FPS games, who like war games, and they want to see some realism. They want to see a little bit of authenticity. That's my take on it. That's all I'm going to say about that stuff, though, because I don't want to get bogged into the politics of this. Yeah, got sniped there by Leon Fields. Nice. So anyway, these are the things I noticed. I was at first I was thinking this game's okay, but I'm not going to play it again. It's pretty much, to me, it's the reason why I stopped playing Battlefield. It just feels a bit clunk. It just feels a bit generic and not hardcore enough for my liking. But then I've got to say, I started to notice certain little details and certain little things that I was like, actually, this is quite fun. And if you play this game and just treat it as an arcade, fun, run around, don't give a shit sort of game that you can play, either with friends or by yourself, then actually I think you know, I'm going to say it's quite good. You know, I would have been pretty angry if I'd have paid full price for this though. It's a free game at the moment if you've got PSN, so just download it. But I like. What do I like? I like the little the standard Battlefield features. I like being able to prepare tanks as an engineer with a blowtorch, and just camp with a blowtorch and get loads of points. I love that sort of thing. I like running around healing people. So I like actually playing as support roles in this. It's not always about the kills. In fact, playing as a sniper is quite boring, to be honest. I used to do it more back in the day on the PC, and I would camp. I mean, I'm not joking. I would just camp like a bitch on a mountain with a 12 times scope and a 50 caliber sniper rifle, and I would just do nothing. I wouldn't bother trying to cap objectives. I would ignore the commander. I would ignore my squad leader. I was a bitch. I'm going to admit that. I was not a good team player. I would just camp the fuck out of the mountain, and people would give me shit on the talk bar, on the mics, and I don't care because I was getting some nice kill death ratios, and I was getting some sick headshots on like 1,000 meters out. I'm joking, by the way, because I know that I was being a dick when I played that game, but yeah, I just liked it, and I used to get really good at sniping. But anyway, in this though, I'm actually starting to play this more on PS4, and I'm enjoying actually just doing the support stuff, running around as an engineer, medic. I prefer engineer myself because I like to heal the tanks. I feel like it's my duty as a tank enthusiast in this game to run around trying to make sure the tanks don't get destroyed. And I think players are actually shocked as well when they see that people are actually trying to help. Like, people are actually doing the thing that their role's meant to do. So heal or fire panzerfausts at tanks, etc. Because this is a console game, so you know I wasn't seeing a great deal of coordinated effort. When you go into Hell Let Loose, you've actually got a chain of commands on most servers, and you've got a real sense of organisation and strategy. Same in Postscriptum. As an aside, it's really good news that Hell Let Loose is going to go on the next generation of consoles. So, and hopefully not in a dumbed down form, in a real fully fledged form. So that would be amazing if when that happens. And I'll probably buy a next gen console for that, because I quite like the idea of playing that on the TV. But yeah, it will probably not be as good as the PC version though, let's be honest, even though the next gen consoles are pretty much up there in terms of the specs. I mean, my PC's quite old now, so I mean, if I got a new console, that would be more powerful. I think I would go with the Xbox route myself. I think the Series X is the one to go for now, but that's just my take on things. I want to get the new flight sim as well, that's the other reason. So anyway, massive aside that was. So yeah, took over the old Bofors here, old AA gun, and I think I get a kill. There we go. That's the kind of kill you want in Battlefield. So really, when Battlefield came out in 2002, this was why it was so good, because you could take over fixed turrets and things, and it was really fun trying to shoot down aircraft. And nowadays, you take all this stuff for granted when you play games like this. People don't even use them. So I've talked a lot here, and yeah, I think I was starting to. I mean, I now know that for me, this game is. I enjoy running around with the support class and the LMG and the Browning. Sound effects for the Browning are a bit odd. Again, going back to what I was saying about sound effects, I just don't think it sounds quite right. But I'm being very picky in saying that, and yeah, it's not that it sounds bad. It doesn't really sound like the real sound of that gun, that particular gun. It sounds a bit. I don't know. I'm going to be really geeky and say the best game for the Browning sound effect was Day of Defeat pre-Source. So if any of you remember what it sounded like in that game, I think that was exactly right. But anyway, yeah, this is quite cool. I spawned on a tank here. This is nice. I like the way I don't think this is the first Battlefield game to let you do that, but it's quite cool that you can crouch when you're the gunner or the machine gunner, the turret gunner, and the tanks look good in this. They move quite well. They've got a little bit of weight to them. I don't feel like they're just floating. So they move at the right sort of speed and all that stuff. But there's not. I don't see much evidence of shells deflecting off armour and all that though. Doesn't seem really sophisticated like Red Orchestra or anything like that. Because again, a lot of games have come out in the last 10 years and just blown away some of these Battlefield dynamics, and DICE have not really come up with the goods in terms of upping their game. Certainly with the tank combat, it still feels it feels okay, but it still feels a bit arcadey. It's you know it's not about it's just about damage hitboxes. There's no emphasis on different positions to fire shells at, different points of weakness on the armour and all that business. But I remember Battlefield 1 had a little bit of that going on, so maybe there is something in this that's better than I think. There is destructible buildings I noticed though, which is very good. And it's very impressive actually, being in a building that's getting destroyed. It's very cool. I remember Bad Company 2, that was the game that had all that in Battlefield. Bad Company 1 and 2. They were really good actually, those games. So yeah, just popping people off here with the MG. Getting some nice turret kills. This is the way to play Battlefield. Just go along with a vehicle, because then you get support points as well as kills. And there we go. Finally got taken out. There's a tiger there. Yeah. And I quite like some of the battles as well. This is Arras, for example, I believe. And actually, I don't know if this is Arras or not now. But one of the battles I played was Arras. Now it's really good to see Arras represented in a game, because that's an obscure battle that's not that well known, but it was quite a significant battle in the early stages of World War II, during the just pre-Dunkirk actually, just before the BEF evacuated France. So yeah, I'll wrap this up soon I think. I haven't really got a lot more else to say about this game. It's odd bit of aim optics you get there for this gun. It's not really very realistic. It's just an aim point, which I certainly didn't have in World War II. But I guess you have to give it to the devs. They probably just had to think about balancing. And it's hard sometimes to make games where you want loads of gun attachments. In the CODs era, you have to kind of embrace some of these concepts that people expect now, even if they weren't really around in World War II. So I think I'll get some kills here. It's a good way to end the video, because I get some nice MG kills. Suppression fire. it's not always obvious when you get a kill. You kind of get a little ping noise and a red skull. I guess you just get used to it. One thing I think the other thing I want to say about this game really is, after playing How Let Loose with its realistic damage, like i.e. one-hit kills pretty much, not quite though, but in a major part like a torso or a headshot, your enemy's down and they're not getting up, sort of thing. Even if you use the light caliber weapon, like a pistol. When you play a game like that, it feels like real combat, and a kill really feels satisfying, and also you don't run around like an idiot because you know that you're vulnerable, so everything's a lot more realistic. In this, people are strafe shooting, bunny hopping, and it just annoys me because it just feels like the old school days of silly arcade combat games. And also I hate it because I drill players, hit them 3-4 times with a belt-fed machine gun or a rifle, and they don't die, and then they just get the hit on me because they get a headshot, or they just luckily manage to drill me. So I just hate it when I get loads of hits on enemies and they don't die. It really frustrates me. And that's actually why I stopped playing Battlefield, actually. I remember now. Grenade out. There we go. Another kill. Almost another kill. Grenades are quite good. They're quite, yeah, they're just nice. They feel quite satisfying in this. Run over by a Sherman. Good way to end. So yeah, I've started to get a feel for it there. I mean, I've started to pick up the game really, and yeah, it's good. It is really good. I mean, it's not really. Let me qualify that. It's pretty good. I can see why it didn't really prove to be a success though for DICE. I think it was a little bit too much of the same old thing. It was a bit too formulaic. But I like it because it's World War II, and I like seeing Tiger tanks like this old beast up here. I like running around in these settings, and yeah, it's fun. But I'm glad I didn't buy it at the time when it came out, because I would have been a bit angry about the price and the fact that it really felt like the same old thing to me. Look at that though. That's a nice Tiger model. So what can you say? Good fun. Definitely download it if you've got PSN.